Right, we need to get a lot more on this, don't we? Our reporter, Jamie Weir, joining us in the studio, sporting a very Jon Rahm-like beard.
I know, I wish I had the bomber jacket. That's what I'm missing.
Yeah, the branded up bomber
I love
jacket.
the jacket. I've been saying it all morning.
He's not going to live. Right, it's a wide-ranging question.
Yeah.
What does this mean for golf?
What does this mean for golf? I mean, I think as we sit here on December the 8th, I think the world of men's professional golf is more fractured than it has ever been. I think what that means for the viewer is that they're in as bad a place as, you know, if you're a golf fan, there's only going to be 4 times a year now where the best golfers in the world are in the same place together. That can't be a good thing for golf. So once again, the viewer has been forgotten about as greed takes over. I think a lot of people are being turned off from golf at the moment because of just how much money is involved these days, how selfish and greedy a lot of these golfers are coming across. It's just a big turn-off for a lot of people. Where does it leave the PGA Tour? I think they're in one of the weakest positions they've ever been in. They've really got to sort of bang a few heads together and thrash some things out now. I think it's a huge coup for the Saudi Public Investment Fund. I don't necessarily think it's a massive coup for LIV itself because, you know, nobody watches LIV as a product. It's kind of floundering at the moment, and the fact is nobody's watched it whilst they've had Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Cameron Smith, Phil Mickelson, big star names like that. Is adding Jon Rahm into the mix really going to suddenly force people to watch LIV? I don't think so, but I think for the Saudi Public Investment Fund this is absolutely huge. But yes, in a nutshell, where does this leave golf? More fractured than it ever has been and not in a great place.
I mean, he'd previously ruled it out, right? We've been showing the clips this morning of him saying, you know, it's not about the money, it wouldn't do anything for me. What is it that's changed?
Well, the whole landscape of golf changed on June the 6th when suddenly, out of the blue, and I do mean out of the blue, nobody saw this coming at all. You had Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, and Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the chairman of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, chairman of Newcastle United as well, sitting next to each other on CNBC talking about a merger between the two. These two warring factions who'd been bickering for 18 months were suddenly, they'd kissed and made up and everything was going to be rosy. And that just took everybody by surprise. But what it did was it really legitimised LIV. The PGA Tour legitimised LIV on that day, which basically said to the players, look, if you go and take the money, then it's going to be fine because we're all going to force through a merger at the end of the day anyway. And I think that probably is at the root of what Jon Rahm has done here. He's thinking that there is going to have to be some sort of deal done, so I may as well go and take the bag while it's on the table.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you mentioned there, we saw the clips of Rahm saying, I'm never going to go, doesn't matter how much money's going to be offered. And we just heard from Paul McGinley saying, he doesn't know what to believe anymore. He doesn't know who to trust. So, I mean, does this mean that anyone could now go and follow him before that deadline? I mean, could Rory McIlroy go?
I think I would be knowing Rory, I'd be very safe in saying I think Rory would never go to LIV because I know his feelings on it are incredibly strong. But you're spot on, Matt. Like, I've been guilty of probably taking a lot of players at face value in the past when they've said, that they're loyal to the PGA Tour and this is where they want to play their golf. And Jon Rahm even pledged fealty to the PGA Tour back in February of 2022, which is a very sort of Games of Thrones kind of term. But that's what he said. And in June of 2022, I was at the US Open in Brookline in Boston when he said that he'd spoken to his wife and that amount of money couldn't possibly change his life. He could retire now on the spot and still live a very happy life. He doesn't need the money. And, the PGA Tour is the place to play. The events of the PGA Tour, they mean something. And he's always struck me as a player who is a student of the history of the game and is inspired by legacy and following in the footsteps of his heroes like Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal. So it does come as a huge shock from that point of view. In some ways it's not, because he's always stayed very close with the likes of Sergio Garcia, Phil Mickelson, who are obviously two prominent LIV players and two, I imagine, fairly persuasive voices just sitting on the shoulder, rabbiting away in his ear. So from that point of view, it's not a huge surprise. But yeah, he always struck me as somebody who was inspired by playing in these events that have a great history, that the likes of Jack and Arnie and Faldo and things like that. So from that point of view, I am surprised.
Thank you. I mean, I could listen to you all day, could talk about it all day. So interesting, isn't it?
I could look at his beard all day.
Almost Jon Rahmish.
If only I could do that, mate. Thanks so much,
Jamie.
mate. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you a lot over the next couple of days.